welcome back to the Marathon Mortgage Happy Hour, a much more professional setup than we had last week. So
episode 9, we really stepped it up.
yeah, this is crazy. We're like light years ahead of where we were last week, but we got some funding support from the company, and now we're here. So welcome back.
Yeah, hopefully the quality is improved, and we're going to improve, topics that we talk about. And,
Yeah.
You're IT, so hopefully the quality of the video and the audio is all.
Yeah, I'd like to consider myself president of IT and marketing here. I guess vice president, you're kind of president of marketing. So, and we'll do a nice crisp shout out to Arv as always over the microphones here. It just sounds beautiful. So, as always, guys, I am Mike Witzak.
And I'm Rory Farrell.
And this is the Marathon Mortgage Happy Hour. We're going to, drink a beer, discuss some new things going on in the market that we think are important to talk about, and we'll discuss a win that we had for the week. And then we'll go from there. So I guess what do we got on the menu today?
Today we're going to do Ardent Craft Ales out of Richmond. I was just down there last weekend.
Okay.
And, picked up a couple different beers, and this is called Pop Pale Ale. Old school cartoon.
Yeah, a little comic book action, you know?
It's cool. So the reason they call it Pop, they use cryo hops, and I think it's called Cryo Pop.
Nice.
And what I thought was interesting about this one, it's a new style of hop. So cryo hops are basically a way to get the hop pellets that are used super concentrated with the lupulin, which is like the hop oil.
A lupulin?
Lupulin.
All right. And 2, since we're on this fancy setup, you have to if you talk anywhere other than the front of the microphone, it's going to sound like weird. Say something. Yeah. See.
All right, so it's lupulin is the hop oil that is, basically what gives the flavor, the aroma, like basically everything that you would need a hop to do to a beer. So just a super, super concentrated version of that.
Cheers, man. Now, I may have snuck a sip in before we cheers by accident, but
fun. What do you think?
No, it's pretty good. It's not it's not a beer I'd buy a 4-pack of, but I do like it. Like when you bring beers like this in for me, I enjoy trying them, but it's not something I'd sit down and drink all day with my friends.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's definitely on the heavier side if you're going to drink all day on them. It's only 5.5%, but it's got,
very hoppy.
On camera. It's made with oats, so it's going to have a little bit of a heavier mouthfeel than like a normal crisp, either Pilsner or even just like a West Coast IPA. So, but I like it. This is I could drink these beers. If I had to pick one style of beer to drink for the rest of my life, it would be like a low ABV kind of hoppy pale ale.
This is it.
Yeah.
And what is the ABV on this?
5.5.
Oh yeah, so it's just kind of a normal.
And I just like the can art's super cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. That's kind of honestly, you may clown me for this, but when I go to Rye Brew or I go to any brewery, I just look at the coolest art on the can. I'm like, yeah, I'll try that.
Oh, there's so many options for 4-packs and beers and craft beer now. It's like you couldn't possibly know everything. So oftentimes I'll look at what's affordable.
Yeah.
And then also what artwork looks cool.
Cool.
Just go with that.
That works, man. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, cool. So what are we thinking for industry stuff or kind of general?
Yeah. So I think what we kind of discussed a little bit downstairs, and I think is like a big thing going on in the industry right now is kind of two things that coincide together is marrying the house and dating the rate is a big saying that they have, and
people like to say it. Yeah,
people love saying that, and they also like to say we're going to give you a no cost refinance. So these play into each other. I think you have a way that you wanted to dive into it, and I'll kind of just feed off of that.
Yeah, the marry the house, date the rate thing. People always say it, and in theory, it's a great idea. To kind of curb people's hesitancy about this market.
Yeah.
But the reality is we may never see rates go down to where they were the past couple of years. So you cannot make the assumption that, hey, I'll buy this house now because I love it, and I'll just refinance a couple of years down the line and lower my payment. It's likely you'll probably be able to do that, but it's certainly not something that I would bank on. If I were to stretch myself thin and buy this perfect house that I like now, and it's at the top of my budget, and I'm just really stretching my budget under the assumption that I'll just be able to refinance it later and save a couple $100 a month. It's just not something that you could guarantee. So, marry the house, date the rate is fine as long as you kind of then back it up with, but don't overstretch yourself because there's no guarantee.
Yeah. Maybe if you're a little tight right now and you're going to be getting a raise at your job and you're like, oh, well, if I have the chance to refinance in a year or so, that's great. But don't put all your eggs in the basket of, hey, I'm going to be able to refinance, because who knows where rates are going to go. I mean, we've seen them go down and up so much in the past couple months. I mean, they can go up to 7-8% and then come down to 5-4%. We have no idea what rates are going to do. I mean, you're able to look at the market and get a judgment on what direction they're going to go, but that changes weekly. And anybody that tells you they know what's going to happen is just lying, because they don't. Anything can happen. Now, with that being said, a lot of companies are saying something like, hey, we're going to, if you buy the house today, we'll give you a no-cost refinance. Now, a no-cost refinance doesn't mean a no-money refinance or a free refinance. That just means it's kind of like industry, I don't know.
Just a way to make things sound better.
Yeah, like a hook almost.
It's a bait and switch type situation.
Yeah, it's a good hook, but it's not what it sounds like.
Not accurate.
Yeah, it's not accurate. Basically what happens in a no-cost refinance, do you want me to explain this? Or do you want to jump? Yeah, so basically what happens in that situation is they'll offer you a rate, which will obviously be lower than your current rate, but higher than the market's rate, or a rate that some companies can offer you. And they're going to give you a credit because they're going to be, the rate's going to be higher than the market. They'll be able to give you a credit to cover the mortgage-related fees when purchasing the house. So then, therefore, it's a no-cost refinance. I mean, you're still going to have title fees. You're still going to have escrows to fund. You're still going to have things like that. And then plus, depending on what the rate is, you might just be able to get a lower rate, and the break even would make more sense to pay the mortgage fees than it would to do a no-cost refinance. Yeah. And that's kind of like something we get a lot of realtors calling us up about, because obviously there's so many loan officers out there right now just trying to get business and trying to get new realtors. And so this is like a huge pitch that they're selling, and we get calls about it all the time. We try to explain to them, hey, look, a no-cost refinance doesn't mean they're doing this for free or they're giving you something for free. I mean, they're still making money.
We're not charities. No mortgage company is for the good in their heart. But I had a very real scenario where I had a friend who was buying in Virginia, and she was asking me about the basically what we're talking about here. And she's like, oh, it's great. My loan officer is going to do my refinance for free whenever I come back. He said he's going to do it for free. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, and then kind of just breezed past that because I knew there was some sort of, catch-22. So then I asked her, I said, oh, well, what are you locked in at? And she's like, well, he hasn't locked me in yet. I'm like, well, you're 15 days from settlement. What's he waiting for? She's like, oh, he's waiting for the rates to come down a little bit. I'm like, all right. That already red flag number one.
That's a risky play.
Yeah. And then, and I said, well, what's he telling you the rate's going to be, or, what's the quote, or what's the guidance he's giving you? And she's like, oh, it's like 6.875. And at that point, rates were like in the low sixes or the high fives. I'm like, so what he was doing in this situation, he's giving her, basically making all that extra money on the front end. Yep. If she comes back and refinances, great, he'll do it for quote unquote free and just waive his cost, but he already made the money on the front end. And if she doesn't come back, then he just made all that extra money up front.
Yeah.
And I didn't say anything to her because she was 15 days from settlement, but it was like such a concrete example of like how these no cost refis, quote unquote, are
basically
just scam.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say they're necessarily a scam, because they are technically no cost refinances. Technically what they're saying is not wrong. But it just gives to show you, maybe, shop around a little bit. Give us a call. We'll give you a quote. There's
understand the numbers. Why is it cost nothing?
Exactly. So I think that's like a big thing. Just look into the numbers and make sure you're, doing your best to shop around a little bit. But
and just be educated.
Yeah.
Take time with your loan officer to ask the right questions and
be educated.
And figure
that's
out
the best way to put it.
Where the numbers are coming from.
Watch the Marathon Mortgage Happy Hour. You'll be educated. So that's that on the industry stuff. What would you like to say about your win this week, sir?
Yeah, so my win this week is, it's kind of been an ongoing one that's turned into a win this week, is that I have this client and this realtor who have been working this off-market deal for weeks and really months now. So it's kind of been this verbal deal with it that the seller was just waiting around for them to get qualified, and a little bit of a complicated file, some self-employment, some variable income, some change from base pay to commission. So it just took us a while to really collect all the documents and really make it ironclad. Got that done at the end of last week finally, and they're just kind of negotiating the final numbers. But thank you. And we'll have a contract this week, and we'll kind of get underway. But the nice part about that is there's no surprise at this point. Like we've collected all the documentation, we've run it through our automated underwriting system. Like it's a done deal.
Yeah.
He didn't have to go through the hassle of, going through the market and making offers and negotiating and so on and so forth. He had this house that he likes. Seller was willing to sell it to him and was willing to wait around until he got his ducks in a row.
Yeah.
And so it feels good to get that one done and put him in a position to be able to buy this place.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah.
I think my biggest win was last Friday. We settled on a home. And during the process of buying the home, obviously you have to get an appraisal done. And we got it done. And this house was a little bit of a complex situation. So the house came back as a C5, which we didn't. There's different conditions when you're getting an appraisal done. I think it's C1 through 6. 6 is like, it's falling in and it's inhabitable. And C1 is like brand new, perfect house. You can live in it all day. So this one came back as C5, which a bank will not take as a C5. And we're like, why did it come back as a C5? We're like, what is, I don't think this is a C5. So we, went back to the management company, made the argument, figured out what we had to do to get it done. Ended up getting it. I think we had to get it reappraised and then had somebody else look at it, got a second opinion. Second opinion came back as a C4 and it came in above value, as is. So it just goes to show, like, in certain situations, it really helps to have somebody who's experienced at looking at I went to Tom. I mean, I've seen so many appraisals, but I felt like this one wasn't a C5. I was very confused as why I got a C5. So I went to Tom and I said, hey, what do you think this is a C5? And he said, no, there's no way this is a C5. So, it just helps to have somebody on your side that's very educated like that and has been in the business for 20 plus years. And with our experience here and just kind of how we work as a team to get things done, I don't think I would have been able to get it done without having this team behind me. Yeah. And
as far as the team is concerned too, it's not just our team, it's the relationship that we've built with our appraisal management company.
Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of all the, things we have with the relationships we've built with people over the years. It's just been, monumental to our business and how we're able to get things done.
It gets things done when a lot of other lenders probably couldn't get things like that.
It's huge. Yeah. So I think, and so we got that done. We settled on Friday. It went great. The couple was young. They were buying their first home. They were, renovating this place up, and it just felt good. It always feels good when I get to go to a settlement table with people who are my age and they're buying their first home, and it's like I don't know. It's cool. It's a cool feeling.
Yes, especially when they thought it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah,
midway through the process, and then basically.
Oh, they did not think it was going to happen. They were very upset. But then I explained to him, hey, look, I have nothing to do with this, and I'm going to do everything I can to get it done, and I did. So we got it done. So that's all that matters, and I'm very happy. And they were super happy. They couldn't have been more sweet of people. They were great. They couldn't thank me enough. They were awesome. They were very appreciative of. Whenever I talk to somebody or I pre-qualify somebody, I always let them know, hey, look, this is my cell phone number. Call me whenever. And they took advantage of that when I told them that. And it's what I expect people to do. I don't expect people just to be like, oh, no, I'm not going to call you because you gave me your cell phone. They did. They called me whenever they had questions, and I was happy to answer them. And they couldn't have been more thankful for that. So it felt good.
How you build long-term relationships.
Oh, for sure.
And you mentioned that they recognize that, and they said to you multiple times at settlement, like, thank you so much for being available, and thank you for, answering the calls when we called. And
yeah. So, I mean, what else am I doing? You know what I mean? So, it's like, but I'm here to help, and that's what my job is. So my job's to get you to the closing table and help you along the way.
Cool.
So, and even after too, I just had a bunch of emails about people who just settled recently. They're like, hey, did my loan get sold? What's this or what's that? And I'm like, yeah, send me pictures. I'll help you out.
Yep.
So
even after the fact. Yep.
Even after. So that's what we're here to do. Got anything else to say?
I think this one ran long. I think we should sign off.
Yeah. I don't know how long are we running for right now. 15 minutes.
Yikes.
Whoa, dude. I mean, we got like a minute in the beginning. It's like 12 minutes. All righty, guys. Well, I guess we'll sign off here. We will see you in the next episode. Hopefully this equipment works out and everything sounds good.
We'll see.
We'll see what
Happy
IT
Friday.
can do. Happy Friday, guys.